Hi, and welcome to my next review. It's Dominion. Dominion has been perhaps my favourite game of 2010, and I think quite a deserved winner of the Spiel des Jahres 2009. Dominion has been an amazing game for our family. We have replayed this so many times, and we've had so much fun from it. The game has now been expanded with a number of add-ons, but to me the basic game is still a very satisfying and complete experience. So what is Dominion? Well, as you can see in front of me, there are a lot of cards, and this is what the game is about. It is a deck building game. By deck building I mean that you will start with the same amount of cards as everybody else, a very basic little hand, and each hand you play, you will be progressively adding to your deck to both improve it and to progressively score more and more of the victory cards. The winner of the game obviously ends up with the most victory points. Pretty simple. So let's find out what's in the box. So, some details about the game. How many people can play? Well, Dominion can be played with 2 to 4 people using the basic game. 2 people is quite good with a less interactive or less aggressive setup of cards. 3 and 4 people quite suit more aggressive style of cards. Just, I think, to be warned, the more interactive and aggressive you make the deck, the longer the game's going to take. I think we've played a 3-player game with not too much interaction in 20 minutes. So it can be a very quick game once you get to know what you're doing, and it doesn't take long to get to know what you're doing. I think the worst thing is that a lot of people spend a lot of time thinking too much about, once it gets to their turn, what they're going to do. And I find the best way is to say to people, well, start thinking about your next purchase while everyone else is doing their turn. And sometimes there's a bit of interaction and you have to change plans, but otherwise it's just really a case of don't hesitate too much, get in there, try it. As you get more experience, the game will become faster and faster. We actually have stretched the game to 5 players with the basic set. Again, the only difference was it finished slightly sooner because with 5 players drawing on cards using the basic rules, the game will tend to finish slightly quicker, particularly so with provinces running out slightly quicker. I might in future actually change it to use the 5-6 player rules that come with Dominion and Intrigue, which make the suggestion that perhaps 4 supply piles run out. That could make a slight change. But otherwise, 2 to 4 players, 20 minutes to an hour per hand. As I said, it just depends on how interactive you make it and how many players. The other thing is, it says on the box ages 8 and up. Well, we've got a bright 8.5-year-old, and she's pretty much a whiz at playing this game. She quickly has sorted out what she's going to buy and what she's going to do, and she's got her cards all played out and cleared before I know it. So when I play with her, it's a very quick game. Very bright little mind, our Laura, and yeah, no relenting with her. She's full speed, which does say something for the game, that it does have that ability to be played by, I'm sure somebody younger than 8 could perhaps even grasp this, depending on who they are. But generally I would say the box is right, 8 plus, 20 minutes to an hour. So, enough about that, the game. Okay, the box is a really nice, heavily embossed box, and inside it you will find some rules. I actually felt the rules were reasonably well written. They were pretty darn clear overall. Some nice examples of play and what have you. As you can see, fairly graphical. overall, I'd probably give these an 8.5 out of 10 as far as rules go. It also comes with a nice little extra which explains a lot more about the game, and in particular the cards. Because there are so many different types of cards, it's nice to have a little summary. Just go into a little more detail on some of the cards, which you might find perhaps trickier to apply some of their effects. Some of them may not seem so obvious, but I generally feel that what's on the cards is very obvious, but this will just reassure some of those who might not feel so confident. It also comes with some starting scenarios as far as how to set the game up and play it. Again, very handy, very easy to use. Highly recommend both these pieces of writing. They'll get you started in no time. What else comes in the box? Well, we have, they say, 500 cards. Now, 500 cards sounds a lot of cards, but the great thing is you're not going to need them all in one game. Some of the cards will be used in every game, such as the treasure and the victory points, and the rest of the cards are what's known as kingdom cards, and each scenario uses a combination of 10 of these kingdom cards. So each scenario is a little bit different, and by the combination of cards you will get a very different feel or style of game. This can lead you to have a very simple game where each player is simply racing with little or no interaction with other players, through to games which are highly interactive as you attack players. So lots of variety, lots of variables, lots of wonderful cards. And the cards have a really nice quality to them. They're well illustrated. I felt very clearly written. They seem to summarize the information you need to know rather well. The other great thing that comes in it, because when you've got 500 cards, you're going to need something to organize them. And they provide this wonderful organizer, which comes with an index card, so you can very quickly find out what cards you want and where they are and grab them, and just keeps everything nice and organized. If I have one criticism about this box, it's the fact that because you're going to play this a lot, you get into Dominion, and by a lot I mean it's not unusual for us to play 3 hands in a row. Some of the hands are fairly short, some a little bit longer, but there's a lot of shuffling and the cards can get damaged. So I took the time to take advantage of another offer that comes in the box from Mayday Games, which offers you some discounted card sleeves to slot your cards in, which they're fantastic. They're great for shuffling, great for just handling the cards. They're looking after the cards, fantastic. The only thing is, of course, they thicken the cards up just a little bit. And when you do that, not all the cards sort of fit in their assigned slots, so you sort of jiggle some of these larger ones around, like some of the money ones, and they have to. But if that's my only criticism of the box, then it's pretty insignificant, really. When you open the box, you'll be able to set this up, start straight away. It's just about as bad as being a negative victory point. So we have what's Dominion all about? Well, besides being a deck building game, it's themed, as you might have guessed from the box, with a medieval sort of theme about you're a rather well-to-do person, almost like a prince or something of that stature. You are to try and expand your area of influence using these victory cards, which have been named estate, duchy and province, each reflecting a slightly higher points value to reflect the increased status of the name. My only general criticism of the game is the fact that the theme in the end of the day doesn't seem to sort of fit with the game. There are elements of it which do fit, but as you play it more and more, you start to recognise that somehow the theme of the medieval side seems detached from playing the game to some degree. Not a real criticism. I like themed games, and somehow seems to be something a little missing there. But again, this is such a minor thing, because once you actually get playing the game, the theme really, unless you're really a theme conscious person, really won't matter much. It's just a fun game to play. So if you just have to have the theme match the game, after a while that's going to be very, very thin. But for the rest of us, we're just going to have a great game. Okay, let's go a bit more about these cards. As I mentioned before, there's the treasure card, the victory cards, these are the curse cards, which are like a negative victory card, but they also, we'll go into it a bit more later, but they dilute your deck. And to think you can use any 10 in a scenario. As mentioned earlier, the book does come with some starter scenarios, and I do recommend trying those starter scenarios. They will give you a very good feel overall for most of the cards and how they can be used. But I quickly realised that, and I'll go into this, repeat this again later, the cards themselves, the Kingdom cards, some of them do seem individually more useful or more powerful than some of the others. Some of the others seem a lot more so-so, a bit wishy-washy. But then I started to actually change the combination of cards I was using. And in doing so, I discovered that each of these cards definitely is more valuable in relationship to other cards in the context of the 10 cards that you've got for your scenario. So if you've got one scenario with one combination of cards, some of the weaker cards in that scenario might be a lot stronger in combination with other cards in a different scenario. I think many people have from playing this, have a tendency to always pick their favourite cards, and they tend to forget that what really makes, or one of the strengths of this game, is the way you can set it up in different varieties so that you create different styles of games. And there's also a very creative element to the game, which may not be immediately obvious as well, and how to deal with certain situations. For example, the Witch card down here actually inflicts on other players a curse, which gets into their deck, which is very unhelpful. Normally, the traditional way of thinking, I suppose, for most people would be to have a defense card such as the Moat, block it, or use a card such as the Chapel to trash it, which means to get rid of it out of your deck. But you can do it other ways. For example, I normally don't find the Remodel card much use at all. But using the Remodel card, I can turn the curse into something useful. So that's another way of creatively using something to get rid of a situation. For example, you may not have a defense card, and that makes the game really interesting. If there's no defenses to an attack, how do you get rid of or deflect that attack or make a recovery from it? And the cards in various combinations allow you to do that, so that you can have a balance of interaction and defense, or allow a lot of creativity in how you're going to get there.